Tasha, what about Donald Trump and his campaign? What about it really resonated with you?
Well, I was honored to be one of the 80 individuals who represent Washington State at the RNC in Milwaukee. So I will just say I'm excited about that. But uh, it's not about Donald Trump, honestly. I mean, I knew him back when he ran Miss Universe. I have a pageant background, so I'm really not a fan actually of who he is as a person. But it is about who checked more boxes for what I want for me and my family, and he just checked more boxes.
Wow, was it that straightforward for you? I mean, when you said I really don't like who he is, but I'm voting for him because of all these other boxes.
Yeah, because I'm all about facts over feelings. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like me, but I do good work, and and so I'm a housing employment case manager, and I'm a little bit kind of right to the chase, but I get people housed and I get them employed. So they may not like the way I do things, but I get things done, and their lives are different, and their lives are better.
Oh, that's no, it's an interesting approach, an interesting way to break it down. And Waylon, as I mentioned, it wasn't just that Vice President Harris lost. The Democrats lost the Senate for the first time against Trump. They lost the popular vote. What do you think went wrong here?
I I don't want to proselytize on what necessarily happened in each and every state because the United States, as Canada, is huge. Here in Washington, we had great victories for Democrats up and down the ballot. Our every single seat in our state executive easily went to Democrats. The three main initiatives I was paying attention to failed to make sure we're still prioritizing climate action and affordability for Washingtonians. But I woke up today with a sense of hopelessness, and I don't think I felt that in a very long time. The path that we're going down, I think, is quite scary, and I also am afraid for myself as someone who identifies as a gay man, to hear the rhetoric of the enemy within, or these threats of violence of people who have gone up against Donald Trump and his administration, facing backlash from a federal government. That's not what a democracy looks like, and honestly, it feels like we're heading into a void. However, I hold out hope because I live within Washington, and I know that we're going to push back. We're going to fight. I accept that these are the real election results. The one silver lining on this is that I woke up this morning knowing that we didn't have to face the threat of violence because of the election results, because we saw that in 2020, we saw that in 2022, but I don't think we're going to face the same levels in 2024 because it's only rigged when you don't win, unfortunately, on the other side of the aisle.
Okay, well, let's move to the other side of the aisle now with you, Tasha. You've been a Republican for a long time. You come from a family of Republicans. How has Donald Trump changed the party and maybe changed the party for the better in your view?
Yeah, well, I mean, first, I have to. I like how Waylon kind of diverted back to our state because we have. What I'm going to say is this, okay? I first, Waylon, I'm so sorry that you've ever felt like you weren't going to be safe. Me, obviously, as a black woman, I'm like a quadruple minority in Washington as a black woman, right? And then as a Republican, and then the list goes on and on. So I understand as far as backlash, I've received that every day just because of who I am and what I stand up for. But no one should ever have to feel that way. So, but thank you for being so transparent about that. But to go back to your question, um, yes, I was actually born one. My grandfather was a sergeant major who taught me that I'm an American first, and then that I'm black. And although he never thought he'd live to see a black president, he voted for John McCain, his brother in arms. I'm very well versed on the fact that we are the anti-slavery party, and that before, we were somehow, I guess, duped into believing that representation actually meant power. That's what blacks were. We were Republicans. We were about having individual liberties and smaller government rather than government telling us what to do. And so, you know, I'm going to say this, that what he's changed is not just for Republicans. He's actually changed things for politics because he is a person that can't be controlled. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the power. I mean, before he wanted to run for president, everyone liked him. He was everyone's investor. Everyone was taking selfies in the Trump Tower. No one had an issue with him until he actually wanted to be I guess, the most powerful person in the United States of America. And if you actually go back to an interview we had in the 70s with Oprah, who apparently now doesn't like him, where he was asked, would you ever run for president? And he said, well, if the country got that bad, then maybe I would. But other than that, I don't want to do that. Right. So apparently he thought, however many years later, that it got that bad, and I just think that, he's changed politics in general for both sides. Not really either side is really a fan of him, honestly, because he doesn't need them to be powerful, if you will. He doesn't, his airplanes are better, his house is better. Like, he's actually doesn't need them. And so unfortunately, I just think he's changed the face of politics in general. And he's been able to unite groups of people that otherwise would not come together. And so to me, I mean, that's scary for a lot of people. They like the division. They like everyone being separate. They like, okay, no, we need black this, we need gay this, we need, woman this. They like the divisiveness because that maintains control, where he's like, why can't we just all understand that we all have one color? It's, and that runs through us, which is red blood, right? So anyway, I don't know. He's changed the game for all of us on both sides.
Well, interesting. You premise this whole thing by you said that you sort of separate the person from the policies here, and he ticked the right boxes for you. Is there anything about him that gives you pause?
Well, again, I guess I would say, personally, I mean, yeah, there's some stuff he says I don't like, but lucky for me, that's Melania's issue. That's not my issue. I don't sleep with him. I don't go to bed with him. I don't eat dinner with him. So honestly, I don't have to be subjected to his comments and his rhetoric if I don't want to be. I know how to unfollow things and not watch them. But what I will say is is that overall, the things that he wants to do, the things that he did when he was president before, I liked paying $2 a gallon for gas. I don't like paying $5 a gallon for gas, right? I like that a loaf of bread was 99 cents. And I mean, I like those different things. I like that I got more of my paycheck. And I'm not just saying that to be cliche. I finally am off the welfare system as a 22-year-long single mother. And the fact that I have $1,000 a month taken out of my paychecks is I don't like that. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. So frankly, those are the practical things that I look at. I like the fact that, he wants our kids in schools to learn about education, academics, about math. I don't like the fact that my son is going to be taught about who he should like and what he wants to be. I'm like, I don't think he should be taught about relationships in general. So not just gay ones or transgender. He doesn't need to learn about Jack and Jill, Jack and Jack, or anybody else. He needs to learn about how to do math, how to write, how to do whatever, right? So I guess those are the things that I align with that matter more about for me and my family. That's what I mean by checking more boxes.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I want to move on to Waylon, but one quick question for you while we're on this, Tasha. Do you expect gas to go back to $2 a gallon and bread to go back to 99 cents a loaf under Trump?
Well, I will say that it did reduce down when he was elected last time, and it did go down, not all the way to 2. Of course, I'm being a little bit more fabricated, if you will, but it did drastically lower. All the prices of everything lowered a week after he was elected. I mean, so yes, I do expect that will happen again. I mean, he was already president once, and I know how it impacted my taxes. I know how it impacted cost of living, and I really appreciated that. Those are the facts for me.
Okay, Waylon, I'd like you to weigh in here, just from some of the things that Tasha has been saying here, the expectations for the Trump presidency, and your biggest concern going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Gloria. Several things I would like to talk about. I really appreciate Tasha's input here, but I disagree on many items that she has talked about with us. The fact that gas was $2 a gallon, supply and demand. Econ 101 teaches us that when there is less demand, supply becomes cheaper. And we had a COVID pandemic, gas went down, bread prices went down. Once we returned, prices went up. And that is, that's a big part of what we're talking about when we're talking about the economy, but there are several social issues. And I simply just can't look away and pretend that these issues Donald Trump talks about are just Melania's issues. Just because I'm not in his bed doesn't mean he doesn't want to control what happens in mine, what happens in my family's. The people who have died in Texas and Georgia because of restrictive abortion bans, they don't get to just avoid this issue altogether. And this level of strategic avoidance, I think, is what caused him to win this election. People didn't vote. Turnout, yes, a little bit higher, but people did not vote. And if people voted, I don't think he would have won. And I think we would have had the prospect of the first woman president of the United States of America. And when we're also talking about education, Tasha threw in a little piece about education, talking about social emotional learning. In Washington State, we do require comprehensive sexual education from grades K through 12. That does not mean everything is about sexual relations in kindergarten. Actually, none of it is. It's teaching kids that people touching you is not okay without your consent. It's teaching kids how to have healthy relationships, how to relate to one another, what a good friendship is, but also teaching them that it's okay that people are different. And our country relies on its diversity. And no one has been more divisive in this country than Donald J. Trump. And he is going back into that White House to further draw a wedge between Americans. This isn't the Republican Party of John McCain or even people who believe like Nikki Haley. I would not be scared for the sake of democracy, the sake of our nation, if Nikki Haley was in the White House today. But I have to be scared again because Donald Trump is there. So unfortunately, I can't avoid these issues. I'm not in a position of privilege to avoid these issues. I have to face them head on because they affect every part of who I am. And I am acutely aware of what the possibility of the next 4 years means. And affordability is top of mind for almost every voter in this country, red or blue. And what I can tell you, what I know, what we can do simple research on is that the policies that Donald Trump has in store for the economy will all but help the people in need. It happened before, and it's going to happen again. So that is mostly my outlook on the issues. But I'm honestly scared for the future of this country because it is not as simple as black and white. It's not as simple as teaching kids math and reading. It is those things, but it's also teaching them how to be good humans. And I'm afraid we've lost our way.
Oh, thank you for that, Waylon. And Tasha, why don't you pick on that, up on that? I mean, when Waylon describes this driving a wedge between Americans, this division, what do you make of the division in your country right now, and what needs to happen to help repair it?
Here's the thing. I don't really believe that any individual has been able to perpetuate division. That is something that has happened from the beginning of time in the United States of America. We had, indigenous people who lived here, and then there's people that infringed on that and created a division. Then there are people that brought people here, right? That I am a descendant of, and then that created additional division. And then the Democratic Party, perpetuated things like the Jim Crow laws. They wanted to keep slavery in action. They wanted to make sure that we still were separated, right? Matter of fact, they're very pro Black owned this and Black owned that and LGBTQ this and making everything divisive all the time. Everything is always a division. Like in Washington State, Black people are 4% of the population, okay? We are literally only 400,000 people. There are 1.2 million immigrants here, but there's only 400,000 Black people here, right? We are literally minorities here, yet there's this push of like, let's do Black this, Black that. Well, it's not even sustainable. If you don't include everybody in your business, if you don't include everybody, then you're not actually can't live. And so most Black businesses, when they get all this Black owned money or whatever it is, they end up dying within the first couple of years because it's impossible for them to be sustained just serving Black people for Black people. And I'm saying that as a Black woman who knows Black business owners that are struggling right now to stay afloat. So I guess the divisiveness here is one individual can't do that. Maybe they can illuminate it, but it was already there. People already didn't like Black people. People already didn't like gay people. I have gay aunts. I have people that live an LGBTQ lifestyle. I have a good friend of mine. He works on Fox in a TV show. He's a part of the Lavender Rights Project. You might be familiar with the Lavender Rights Project, Waylon. So like I do a lot of advocacy with them. Like I'm very balanced, but my point is that the divisiveness was already there. People on both sides of the aisle don't like anything that's different. Now, maybe in lip service, they might say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But ultimately, that stuff was already there. So I do believe that maybe Trump being so blunt and so overt and so against the grain and not being PC, it caused people to rise up and say how they really actually felt. I really believe that this stuff was just in the closet. No pun intended. Like, I really believe like all these ideas about I don't like this and I don't like that, that was in the closet. It just was. I found out friends that I thought were my friends and they really did not like the fact that I was Black. Okay. I'm like a quote unquote proper speaking Black person, I guess. So people kind of like endure me. But at the end of the day, they didn't actually really like me. All these different things came to light, and I'm glad they came to light. I'm not even mad at him. I'm glad that he was able to bring out all the racists in my life on both sides, blue or red. I'm like, okay, well now I know what you're really about. So at the end of the
What
day,
he's you know what he's about, but where do you go from here? And I really appreciate both of you fleshing this out with us today. We are going to have to wrap things up, so maybe last word to you, Waylon, and just your hope moving forward. You've already expressed fear in a few lines. Can you summarize those hopes for us?
I hope for a future where I get to be the person that I am authentically, and that everyone around me, regardless of who they are, gets to be that person. I know the America that I have grown up in, and that's the America I want in the future. I think that there is a future without fascists like Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, who say that they are proud to be fascists, who allude themselves to Nazis and the worst people in our society. But I am hopeful that there is one day where we can come back together, where we can unite on the issues that are important to us, where we can live authentically as who we are, and really take back that American dream. And I'm happy to be who I am. I'm happy to live in Washington. I am looking forward to a time that feels better than this. Thank you, Gloria.
Well, thank you. Thank you to Waylon. Thank you to Tasha. Really, thanks for the passion and candor that you've brought to the discussion today.